Joining me right now is the Wall Street Journal's global economics editor, John Hilsenrath. And John, it's good to see you this morning. Happy Friday to you. How much of an issue for markets do you think is this constant grinding of uncertainties? Now Jim Mattis is out at the White House. More uncertainties. Is the chaos and the uncertainties around government shutting down, the president's stability with his cabinet, is that weighing on markets as well?
Well, I'd say there are two things weighing on markets. One is policy uncertainty. You mentioned it. It's not just a temporary shutdown of the government, but you know, the Fed met this week. They raised interest rates, but they said they don't know what they're going to do after that. So there's a lot of uncertainty for the market about what the Fed does over the next few months.
Right, sure.
A lot of uncertainty globally. So that's one thing, uncertainty. But then the other thing is the global economy really looks like it's slowing down. We continue to have soft numbers coming out of China, continue to have soft numbers coming out of Europe. And I think, you know, a lot of investors are factoring that into their earnings projections.
Yeah, I mean,
this is not going to be as strong a growth year next year as it was this past year.
Yeah, you've got the fundamentals, of course. That's really the issue for markets, Dagan. But you make the right point, and that is this constant uncertainty and this grinding of new information has to be also impacting things.
The Wall Street Journal writes an editorial today called The Trump Volatility Risk, and the journal often uses the verb belly flop. The president belly flops into a situation and it essentially makes it worse. And there are three things that happened this week: the Federal Reserve's decision to raise interest rates and the uncertainty there, as John pointed out. But this is after public pressure from the president not to do so. So there's the overhang of that. His abrupt and unilateral decision to pull troops out of Syria and his 11th hour threat not to sign the budget bill that would prevent a Friday night government shutdown. And again, that Syria decision, whether he campaigned on it, yes, but again, it seemed to come out of nowhere and the timing was bad.
Yeah.
And so you have to take ownership of that. How much can investors handle? And the markets are great at factoring in second by second development.
Yeah.
You make financial bets based on what is going on in the world right at that very moment. And some of this was out of the blue and a shock to the system. And I point to the Syria decision and Mattis resigning.
Yeah, now Afghanistan. Go ahead, John.
Right.
I just wonder if the president is going to try to pull some kind of gift out from under the tree, because he really does not like when the stock market falls. You know, he saw the stock market rally in the first year of his presidency as proof that he was winning every day. You know, having these successions of declines, I'm sure, unnerves him, and you have to wonder what he's going to try to do to change that.
Yeah. What about this deadline approaching? It appears both sides are no closer to an agreement. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer spoke about it yesterday. Watch this.
The American people have to understand, yes, Republicans are in the majority. We will pass it in the House. But the rules say you have to have 60 votes in the Senate. So it really comes down to, does Chuck Schumer want to shut the government down over the idea of protecting our borders?
The stock market's down another 500 points. General Mattis is stepping down, and we know he has real disagreements with the president on Syria and on the wall. And now President Trump is throwing a temper tantrum and creating the Trump shutdown of the government.
Mike Murphy, you want to react?
Yeah, I mean, it's comical. The name calling, the blame putting. I don't. The market has sold off, and who's to blame for that? I don't know. I don't know how you speak to that. But really, I think a government shutdown doesn't benefit anybody unless it's in a negotiation. It's me wanting something, so I'm going to shut it down. So I think we can all agree, I think on both sides, that we need a border wall. But what's happening right now is, I think Dagan's right on, there's so many things hitting the market, but also we've had years of expansion, and now people are looking to sell. But panic is not the right move for certain, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'd love John's take on the Fed, because I think, John, I think if the Fed just says we're going to be data dependent. If the market looks like it's overheating, we are going to raise rates to slow that down. If not, we're not going to raise rates just for the sake of doing it. Wouldn't that calm the markets a little bit?
Well, that's kind of where they stand, but the market has been conditioned for almost a decade now of being told what the Fed's going to do next and when it's going to do it. And the Fed is at a point where, you know, they think they've gotten the economy in a pretty good place with modest inflation, strong growth, low unemployment. and it's just not clear how many more interest rate increases they need. So they're not going to say it if they don't know it, and I think that is one of the pricing problems in the markets right now.
I just want to point out, it's not. You cannot. I love how Chuck Schumer is all of a sudden concerned about the market. You know, you weren't worried about helping the economy grow because not a single Democrat voted for the tax cuts, which put few $1,000s in every family's pocket this year.
Now he's worried about the stock market.
Right. So please take the microphone, get the microphone away from him. But I do want to point out, moving into this week, despite everything that we're talking about right now, the potential for a shutdown, Syria, Mattis, Afghanistan, even the Fed decision, the financial stocks entered a bear market last week. And then early in the week, it was the Russell 2000, the small caps bear market, then the transports. And now you have the NASDAQ, which, again, the hottest stocks of the year. The NASDAQ composite is a little more than 40 points away from entering bear market territory. I just wanted to point that out. So this was a stage set because of the Federal Reserve, because of the global slowdown, and because of the trade fights before we even got into this week, made worse by some policy decisions.
Meanwhile, former director of National Economic Council Gary Cohn out with an op-ed in the Journal this morning, and he writes this: America is competitive again. In the piece, he says, as we head into the new year, it's a great time to invest in America, to find a good job, to plan for a better economic future. The tax law is not perfect. No legislation is, but it has been an enormous success. So this administration started the year off, Dagan, with very positive things, a very positive backdrop. The tax cut plan did impact growth, 4.2% in the second quarter, 3.5% in the third quarter. But about mid-year, something changed because of the America First policy and the tariffs and the trade, opening the door to all of this uncertainty.
I'm curious. Absolutely, but I'm curious what John thinks, that this might be a slowdown, this might be a market rout that was unavoidable, that there's nothing that the White House, there's nothing that the administration could have done to really avoid it. He's been, the president, hammering Jay Powell, hammering the Fed on Twitter, and you had Jay Powell asked at the press conference earlier this week, John, about, have you thought about changing course on the balance sheet reduction? And he essentially said no. And then he said, kind of said it didn't matter. So I don't know. Some of the blame lies on policy, but a lot of this, it's a slowdown in Europe, a slowdown in Asia. It's unavoidable.
Well, I mean, the one thing that I think you could point to is the trade picture. You know, we're in trade confrontations with allies and adversaries all over the world. Now, those confrontations might be necessary to reset an unbalanced trade agenda. A lot of people agree with the president that the Chinese have taken advantage of the United States over the years, and that we do need to reset that relationship, and so that so that this is a price we have to pay for that. But that is the one area where I think things are happening that are right. The White House is doing, and they have to own it and hope they come out with a good outcome.
Yeah, real quick, Lindsay Bell, your thoughts?
Yeah, no,
what are you looking at?
Well, I'm looking at what the Fed's how they're going to approach 2019, really, because there's going to be a press conference after every meeting, and it'll just be interesting to see how Powell approaches that and how the market reacts.
Yeah, because they've got the raising of interest rates, but also the balance sheet unwind as well. John, good to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
Great to be here. Thanks.
Happy holidays to you, John Hilsenrath.